Hello, my name is Kozicki. Welcome to part 2 of the accident. Today we have an opportunity to actually hear from survivors of accidents as they tell us their story. This is a series of public health broadcasts to give you information about automobile accidents and how it might affect your life. But first, let me share some facts with you about automobile accidents in the United States. Automobile accidents are the leading cause of death for people ages 1 to 44. In addition, what we have found over time is that many people's lives are changed dramatically because of the automobile accident. Some of the changes that are likely to happen include injuries. Injuries account for about 1/3 of all emergency department visits in the United States, and certainly add to the trauma load that many of our hospitals face today. In addition, automobile accidents typically have a certain gender preference in that males account for 70% of the road fatalities in the United States. And there are many explanations for this, but certainly aggressive driving may be one of those things. Post-accident profiles that are typically found in people who have been in an automobile accident resemble that of post-traumatic stress survivors. These include things like anxiety and tension, depression, illness apprehension, functional deficits in their daily life and in their other responsibilities, pain sensitivity, and often adjustment difficulties in their ongoing lives. One of the things that each person going through an experience like this is their personal story. And I'd like to introduce Virginia. And Virginia, why don't you tell us how you became an accident survivor?
2 years ago, October the 28th, 2008, I was involved in an accident. I had worked that day. It was a Tuesday. I was on my way to visit or meet with my girlfriend because every Tuesday we would meet for dinner and do volunteer work. En route to meet my girlfriend, I was at a traffic light at State and Lawndale in the township of Saginaw. The light had turned green. I attempted to make a left turn, at which time I was struck. I do not remember the accident. All I remember is waking up or coming to on the middle of State Street at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, screaming in pain. I recall the officers telling me everything's going to be okay. I was placed in an ambulance. I was taken to the hospital. I was in the hospital for approximately 3 weeks. I had to go through physical therapy. I had to learn to walk. I had sustained a head concussion. My right ankle, from what I understand, I did not see it, but had completely turned all the way around. I had a plate. I had screws put into my foot, and it was hard. My whole side of my face was swollen, the left side. I believe that because I was in a pickup, which is higher depth than a vehicle, I would have not survived the accident. I'm thankful that I can walk. It took me a while to get where I'm at. If people were to see me today, they would never believe that I was in an accident. I have maybe 30 staples that were put on top of my head. I have a scar on both sides of my ankle. and my ankle still swells every day. If I sit a lot, it swells. If I'm on it a lot, it swells. It's been a rough 2 years. Just last week, I found out because of the accident, I have a collapsed disc. It's been rough. I have headaches all the time, and the accident really affected my marriage. Because of the head injury, I had a tendency to lose my temper, blow up at my husband. I was always gone. There were times I'd have 3, 4 appointments in a day. It was like going to work. It's really affected my life.
Thanks, Virginia. Nick, would you like to tell us how you became an accident survivor?
All right. Well, my story begins back in 2006, near the end of August. I had a job at the time working for a contractor where we put in steel seawall at residences on waterfronts, rivers, lakes, that kind of thing. It was pretty labor-intensive work, and I had gotten into the habit of every day after work I'd go out to the bar, go see my dad and my uncles who were there every day. And normally we'd just stop and have a couple and then go out to family's pole barn and maybe have a couple more and then head home. Well, this evening I decided to stay out a little bit longer, went up the road to another bar, and I stayed out with some friends probably till 8 or 9 o'clock. I started getting tired. I wasn't drinking very excessively for the way I normally drink. I was going slow and moderate. I was just getting tired. I decided I'd better head home. I remember getting in my Jeep, putting on my seatbelt, and peeling out of the gravel driveway, leaving a dust cloud, because that was what I always did. And I made it all maybe a mile down the road in Caucalan Township, just north of Bay City. And I ended up wrecked. My Jeep flipped side over side, trying to go through a curve, and it hit a group of trees with the roof, and it hit hard. According to the police accident report, I was doing between 55 and 60 when I lost control of the vehicle. I sustained a lot of injuries. I fractured my right eye socket in a number of places. I cracked 2 vertebrae in my neck. I had a closed head injury, a very, very minor brain bleed. I broke the 2 vertebrae at the T5, T6 level in my chest, or chest level in my back. I broke 2 ribs and I punctured a lung. I spent 34 days in Bay Med before I was transferred down to Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Center in Grand Rapids. I did a 6-week course of their intensive rehabilitation program, and that's where I got to relearn everything that I was going to need to do from day to day, from getting into my wheelchair from bed to getting around in my wheelchair, cooking, picking up after things, all the everyday things that everybody just does and takes for granted. I had to relearn how to do it all. And one of the big things that I wasn't anticipating and going through was my eye level with how I used to see everything when I was standing up. I was 5'10" and a half, and now I have the perspective of an 8-year-old. And that was a very, very odd thing to get used to. From there, I came home, did some outpatient rehab, got myself into a little bit better shape, and I've been trying to recover and do the best with what I have since then. It's been a long, difficult journey. There's days, just like everybody else, where I have a lot of challenges. Everybody's got their good days and their bad days, and I'm no different. I have gotten away from alcohol because it wasn't doing me any favors. I was going down a bad path. I grew up on my family, both sides of my family, around alcohol and drinking a lot of beer drinkers. So it was something to me that was nothing out of the ordinary from a day-to-day occurrence. And I think that's part of what led me down that path, drinking a lot and doing what I did. And I'm a little bit different for it. I see things a lot differently. I think about things a lot differently. I'm more cautious when I get on the road. I'm more, I guess you could say I drive more like a grandpa than a 20-something-year-old. It's been a very, very interesting journey.
Thank you, Nick. Jerry, how did you become an accident survivor?
It was about a little over three years ago, and I was out picking up my granddaughter from tutoring, and we were coming back on Swan Creek, just outside of Hemlock, Michigan there, and I was making a left turn onto Brennan, heading that way, and the van behind me, this lady who was driving the van behind me, she didn't notice that I was making the left-hand turn. And when she did notice, she was heading like 60 miles an hour. And when she did notice, she didn't have time to stop, so she tried to swerve to go around me, and she collided with the driver, my door on the car, and it drove me from the corner there through a electric pole and into a ditch, and on the Brennan side of the road. And I noticed when she hit me, I noticed that we were going towards that ditch, and I tried to stop put the brakes on to try to stop the car from going there, and they jumped back, and my knee went through the dashboard, and as we went over into the ditch, my head came down, hit the steering wheel, and I was unconscious for like 2 minutes or so, and when I knew what was going on, the gentleman was trying to get us out of the car and everything. And I wound up having 2 back surgeries. My 4th disc in my back was completely dislodged, and they had to remove it and infuse my back and everything like that. And I had the knee surgery. They had to rework the knee and everything. And luckily, my granddaughter wasn't hurt, which was great and surprising, because of the way the accident went. And but I went through that, and they said I also had a closed head injury from hitting the steering wheel when we went through the light pole, and I had a lot of forgetfulness, and I had a lot of headaches, and went into a depressed state from not being able to do what I was doing prior to this accident. And but I personally had very good, my wife and my daughter and son-in-law and stuff. They did recognize what happened and knew things would be different with me, and they had a lot of good support, which helped me out tremendously there. And so I didn't, I had the support. I didn't have, some people don't have the support because the people don't understand why, things changed. But my wife and everybody understood why, and they helped me as best as they could, and I would still, I'd still get into different moods and stuff, and would cause different things, but they understood what was going on. And I had to go back through speech therapy and everything because it caused my speech to from the head injury, it caused my speech to kind of, I'd be, not thinking slow and stuttering and different things like that, and had to go through speech therapy and different things like that. And I just realized, what happened when the accident is the sun was shining. She didn't see the car turning, and she was blinded by that. And then when she realized it, she tried to shift over, and it just didn't work. And but just realized, how things could just turn in a second. You'd be doing one thing, and the next thing you know, you're in a ditch or in the middle of a street or something like that, and things change rapidly. And it's been a little over 3 years, and things are starting to get a little better and stuff. But these 3 years have been really, really, tense for different things. Had to go, like I said, different things, therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy, and all different things like that
Sure.
to get everything back together. And after 3.5 years, I'd say it's starting to work out a little
Okay.
better. But yeah, it's definitely was an experience. And
Yeah. Shannon, how about you telling us how you became an accident survivor?
About 7 years ago, April 4th, 2004, I was in an accident, and it was my senior year of high school. Just gotten out of work, was with some friends. We were driving around. Was in the back seat, didn't have a seatbelt on. Another car had ran a stop sign and T-boned us. I was ejected from the car, broke my back, and suffered a spinal cord injury. Left me paralyzed for the rest of my life. I spent 2.5 weeks in the hospital, and then 2 months at Mary Free Bed doing physical therapy. And I still do physical therapy to this day. It's been a lot of work. That's my story.
Okay. Well, collectively, you share a very dramatic change in lives. And I know all of you have worked hard to get to where you are now. I see this in people that I work with all the time. And first of all, I want to commend you all for staying with it, because it's easy to give up. And I know that you haven't. And part of the reason that you're here is because you're a survivor, not a victim. And there is a difference. Some of the issues that you probably had to deal with included the law or insurance companies or doctors or maybe people in the family who didn't understand. What kind of advice would you give to other people if they're going to encounter that? And I'll just leave it up to you to join in or say whatever you want to say. This is a free forum. Share what you think.
yeah, as I say, especially with insurance companies, they are very rough with you, that's for sure, and they definitely don't comply with you. They comply with the insurance companies, and it's very hard with the insurance companies. But you have to fight your way through that, and keep at 'em and at 'em and at 'em, and get in. But the insurance companies it's rough going with the insurance companies. That's definitely for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, doctors and stuff like that, they're the better part of it because they're trying to get you healed. But
Okay.
What I would add there on the insurance companies is it's a fight worth having, but if you don't have the insurance in the first place, that fight goes to a whole different arena, and it gets even more difficult than I would imagine with them.
Nick, in your accident, you didn't have insurance?
No, I didn't. I was you could say a reckless youth. I was 22. I had been in between jobs, and I had just gotten this new one at the beginning of July. And when I was in between jobs, I had let my cell phone bill lapse. I had let my car insurance lapse. Also, I could have enough money, first and foremost, to pay my loan payment, because if I didn't have wheels, I wasn't going anywhere to work. If I wasn't going anywhere to work, I wasn't doing nothing. So having the insurance in the first place is, it can't be overstated. Without the insurance companies, you have to rely on Medicare and Medicaid, and they, like other for-profit insurance companies, will pay for only absolute minimum of what you need. But if you have car insurance and you get into a wreck, if you have good insurance, decent insurance, they will do a lot more for you. I know a lady who was in an accident, and they built her a house. They get her a new vehicle every few years. They paid for the chair that she wanted to be into, because there's a lot of different models, and none of them are inexpensive. Just some cost less than others. Without the big insurance company that you would be paying into, my state insurance has paid for my medicine, most of my doctor bills, the wheelchair I have, but that's it. I, at the time of the wreck, was living in a mobile home a single wide mobile home, which are not very conducive to wheelchairs. It's very, very tight. I had to get my vehicle on my own, and buying a modified minivan with a lift in it is expensive. On a brand new vehicle, the wheelchair modification adds roughly $30,000 to the list price. So you buy a $30,000 minivan, and now it costs $50,000 or $60,000. I have an older used one that I got at a really good deal from a guy I know that runs a shop out in Auburn. So I got lucky on that. But
Okay. And one of the statistics is about 12% of the drivers out there right now do not have insurance. So you're one of those 12%, I guess.
yes, I was.
Okay.
And getting with the insurance companies, though, that, as you saying, larger insurance companies, there's some larger insurance companies that still try to not to do the minimum no matter what,
Okay.
and you go through a lot of heartache.
So
with
Jerry,
them.
did you get an attorney or something to deal with that?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
I got the attorney, and he dealt with that, and I lucked out with my insurance company because they realized that what was going on, and also Social Security declared me disabled, and the insurance company realized that, so the insurance company's been paying most of all my expenses and different things like that and keeping up with it, only a couple of things here and there.
Yeah. And I want to add that in Michigan, if you have auto insurance and you're injured in an automobile accident, you have lifetime benefits, which means that the rest of your life you would have insurance coverage from the insurance company in this state. Shannon, I know you wanted to add some things. Go ahead.
I was just going to add pretty much what Nick said. I mean, being in a wheelchair is very expensive, and there's a lot behind it besides just not being able to walk. Yeah, insurance is very important.
All of you have had to deal with depression.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All of you have had to deal with having to change all your plans and being anxious about the future.
Oh,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And not knowing sometimes what it's going to be. That's
Exactly. Or what mood you're going to be in that
Right.
day, or what condition you're going to be in that day. Yes.
and
Not working after, or not being able to go to school, or doing other things that you did before the accident.
That
Yeah,
that was especially big for me because all of my work experience had been in building trades, whether it be roofing, siding, putting things up, concrete work, whatever. It all been hands-on physical labor, which is really, really difficult to do in a wheelchair.
yes.
I had aspirations to becoming an automotive technician. I wanted to work on cars and the modern computers and all that stuff with them. And getting on a creeper under a car is not going to be in the cards for me anymore, I don't think. So I've had to really rethink a lot of aspirations and goals of mine.
Okay.
That's very true there. It's hard changing what you used to do to what you're going to be able to do after the accident.
Do people understand that when they look at you?
No,
a lot
they
of
don't.
people don't.
They
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I worked for 32 years as a police officer. I retired 6 months after I retired. I had got another job. I was an office manager at a doctor's office. And I had worked 2 years when I got into the accident. So it was hard. I was always around people. I enjoyed being around people. I guess I liked stress because both jobs were stressful. And now all I do is just go to the next doctor's appointment. I go to speech, I go to therapy, I go to counseling. It's always doctor appointments. And I'd rather be working
And-
than
And there's a
Seeing
lot of
the
effects
doctor.
after that too. There's a lot of effects, like with me, because of my lower back with the fourth disc there, but also now since I've been having to have all fusion stuff, I've got arthritis in my upper back and different things like that. So even different things come out from the accident after the initial injuries. You get different things that happen to you afterwards. That,
Yeah.
yeah.
Shannon, did you have insurance with your accident?
Yes, I was a minor at the time of my accident, so my dad's insurance picked up and they're covering me.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
So it's been an advantage for you in terms of,
Very much, yeah.
okay.
I
Well,
mean, it's still a struggle, and I still had to get lawyers involved, but they've been,
you still had to get lawyers involved even,
Yeah.
yeah. Even though it's pretty obvious you had a serious injury. Okay.
Right.
Well, I want to kind of bring this into focus as we look at if this was a family member or whatever. If somebody had a family member in an accident, what would you say to those people? What would you tell them? How can they better take care of their family? What should they do?
Patience is definitely one thing. A lot of patience, because that family member is going to be going through a lot. I mean, not just physically, mentally too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, the patience and do your best to, help with what's needed of them, because things change.
Along with the patients, understanding, trying to understand the best you can from your perspective.
Try to put yourself in their place.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's about the only way you'll understand.
Okay. All right. Well, it is very good of you to share your stories with us, because it's not often that we get a chance to understand something so important. And I know that everybody who has watched this probably feels a certain degree of support your way. So be lots of love coming, I'm sure, from people who've seen this program. In closing, what I would like to point out is that an accident can happen to any one of us at any time. We can find ourselves in a situation, as Jerry had pointed out, that changes almost instantly. And as Shannon pointed out, even when you're not driving, you can be in the back seat, or you can be a pedestrian and you can be involved. So with that said, I would hope that all of us are understanding of survivors, and that we give them all of the support possible so that they can live a healthier and a happier life each day. And thank you for watching this series, The Accident, and we look forward to your continued safety as you're out there driving your car, or as a pedestrian, or biking, or doing whatever. Thank you.